Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to welcome you very warmly to our Erev Shabbat service, to those of you in the sanctuary, particularly those who are visiting us for the first time. And I welcome those of you who are participating online, whether on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, or Zoom. You are all very, very welcome. It was the great writer in Hebrew, Achad Ha'am, who wrote, "More than Israel has kept the Sabbath has kept Israel." And I'm not quite sure whether this last year, through the pandemic, through the time when we were confined to our homes, whether the Sabbath has indeed kept us, or whether we have found it easier to keep the Sabbath. I hope that as we move forward, that will still be the case, that Shabbat will keep us together, the Jewish people. We are going to begin our service with the lighting of the candles, and I would like to invite Simon to come and light.
In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Sabbath by kindling these lights. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You sanctify us by your commandments and enjoin us to kindle the Sabbath lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher ketshivanu b'mitzvotanu v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
Our service is service 1. If you're following in a Siddur, it's on page 69. Happy is the people by whom the Sabbath is sanctified. Happy are those who rejoice in its blessing. For it comes with a message of God's abiding love, as one who brings good tidings and publishes peace. You, Eternal One, are a great God, the sovereign, great above all other gods. The depths of the earth are in your hand, and the mountain peaks are yours. The sea is yours, for you made it. The dry land is the work of your hands. Come, let us bow down in worship. Let us bend the knee before our Maker. You are our God and our shepherd. We are your people and your flock. Hayom im b'kolo tishma'u. Today the world would be redeemed, if only we would listen to your voice.
Lech Adoni Lika
We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'arif aravi. I hope there'll be a day soon when we can all say the Shema aloud and together. And in the meantime, we must say it within our hearts. Although those of you at home, I invite to say these words with me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. היו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך. קשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
מי כמוך בלב אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נדירות אוסף מלך, נדירות אוסף Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
ונאמר, כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב, גאלון יד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו
Adonai Sarai Tekah, Ofi Avitei Adonai. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Umer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chazdei Avot Ve'imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magei, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magein Avraham Ve'Ezrat Sarah. Ta Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh U'Morid HaTar, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechaye Metim V'Rachamim Rabim, Sumech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim U'Matir Asurim, U'Makaye Memunato L'Shinei Avar, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Geborot U'Mi Dom Elav, Melech Meimit U'Machaye U'Matzmiach Yeshua. Ne'eman Atah L'Hachayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Hayei HaMeitim. Kadosh Atah, V'Nora Shemecha, Ve'ein Lanu Eloah Mivaladecha. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace.
ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments. Make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts. And may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. Baruch atah Adonai, HaKadosh HaShabbat. Retzei Adonai Eloheinu, Ba'amcha Yisrael, U'tefilatam b'ahava tegaber, U'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha, v'yira na'avot. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you are the God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hands, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shemcha, v'lecha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom, Aval Yisrael, Amcha, Tasim, Le'olam. Shalom, Aval Yisrael, Amcha, Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha'shalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha'shalom. V'tov bainech levarech et amcha Yisrael. Bechol et ubchol shah Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom.
We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And take a few moments now for our own personal and private prayers and reflections.
Oseh shalom mimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imnu amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace descend on all of us, and Israel, let us say Amen.
The story of Korach's rebellion in this week's Sedra represents the lowest point in the 40 years of wandering in the desert, the story of a brutal and narcissistic challenge against the leadership of Moses and Aaron. In this episode, the last of the generation who came out of Egypt, apart from Moses and Aaron, are eviscerated, swallowed up in an earthquake. Korah, leader of the rebellion, together with Datan and Aviram, is introduced through his genealogical descent with the opening words to the Sedra, Vayikach Korah. Now Korah, son of Itzhar, son of Kahat, son of Levi, and Datan and Aviram, sons of Eliab, and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuben. But although we are clear that this man is descended from one of the sons of Jacob, Levi, the priestly tribe, making him a first cousin of both Aaron and Moses, somewhere in this sentence, the object of the opening verb, vayikach, and he took, has disappeared. Nowhere are we told what it was that Korah took, and it is left to the commentators to try and fill that omission. So what was it that Korah took, of which the Bible tells us nothing? 11th century French commentator Rashi surmises that he took himself to one side, splitting off from the community in order to protest against Aaron being given the priesthood. Ibn Ezra, 11th century, 12th century Spain, and Rashbam, 11th century France, say that he took men to help him in his attempt to overthrow Moses and Aaron. There's a little excursion around the medieval commentators, familiar names, I'm sure. Nachmanides, 13th century Spain, reads Korah not as the subject, but as the object of the verb. Something took Korah, his heart perhaps, which moved him to split himself off from the community, as in the verses in Job, how your heart has carried you away. He took counsel with his heart to decide what he would say. The Midrash interprets the verb to take as drawing along with persuasive words. He drew after him all the chiefs of Israel and the Sanhedrin who were drawn to him. They took him to their hearts. Other interpretations might look elsewhere in the Bible for the use of the word lakach, to take, to discover what might usually be the object of that verb. Well, we find in Genesis 27 Esau crying that Jacob has lakach, taken away his birthright and blessing. So it could be that Korah, by challenging Moses and Aaron's authority and leadership, takes away Aaron's right to the priesthood and the appointment of Moses as leader. Or did perhaps Korah steal something from the camp or from Moses and Aaron? Certainly he and Datan and Aviram, co-mutineers, steal men, 250 representatives of the Israelites. Nor are they simply the riffraff who have mutinied before. These men who ally themselves with Korah and his mates are chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly with fine reputations, says the Torah. Their lives will be taken as God annihilates them in the earthquake that swallows them up with their households. He steals the language of holiness, the very words of the Torah, when he announces to Moses and Aaron that all the community are holy, all of them, and God is in their midst. But he has misunderstood the statement God has made to Moses in Exodus earlier, instructing him to tell the Israelites, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." What Korach does is to actualize a statement of potential expressed in the future tense. He puts it in the present. Korach removes the necessity to strive for priestliness and holiness. The struggle has become empty of meaning because it no longer exists. He believes he is already there with his hollow declaration, "All the community are holy, all of them, and God is already in their midst." Korach endangers life and takes life away from his followers and their households. The men, the women, and the children disappear with their possessions, going down live into Sheol, the earth closing over them until they vanish from the midst of the congregation. But when the word lakach, he took, is used most often in the Bible, its object is a wife, a woman. In biblical times, men took women as wives as they acquired their animals and other possessions. So what if the missing word in our sentence is Isha, a woman, Vayikach Korach Isha? What if Korach took a woman hostage? Or what if he used his wife to rise up against Moses, against her will? The rabbis hint at something like this in a midrashic commentary. Now Korach took. This implies, says the midrash, that he took his talit, or some translations say cloak. He'd already had an argument with Moses over the talit, the color of the talit, earlier. This is in the midrash. And he went to speak to his wife. The midrash says he went to take advice from his wife. So what did she say to him? The midrash does not tell us explicitly. But what if she tried to persuade him not to lead a rebellion against Moses and Aaron? Perhaps she said to her husband, "You are going too far. Why do you raise yourself up against God's congregation?" The very same words that Korach will use against Moses and Aaron in our Torah portion. If he creates strife in the camp, who is to say that Korach does not create strife within the domestic sphere? What if Korach's profile is that of a coercive, aggressive, and violent husband? If he is abusive towards Moses and Aaron, perhaps it follows that he is an abusive husband, a man whose narcissism will not prevent him from sacrificing his wife and children and the wives and children of his neighbors for his own vainglorious self-aggrandizement. The consequences of the rebellion are terrifying. The families of the men stand at the entrance of their tents. This time there is no weeping or wailing as we've heard in the past, only silence as they wait for God's judgment. Korach's innocent victims are the women and children whom he takes hostage for his own tyrannical and selfish ends. In Jewish tradition, Korach embodies argument that is not for the sake of heaven. He is also the figure in Torah who destroys Jewish values: Shalom bayit, peace in the home, Pikuach nefesh, the saving of human life, and lashon hara, defamatory speech. His victims, silenced and abused, could not be saved. Today they remind us of the obligation to speak out, to raise awareness, and support organizations that provide refuge and support for women and children, the innocent victims who suffer from domestic abuse. The missing object in the first sentence of our parasha is a symbol of all those whose voices are silent, whose presence is hidden because of domestic abuse. Women whose identities, confidence, and self-esteem have been stolen, taken away by abusive partners or others. Education, justice, and breaking the cycle of abuse must be the way forward for a society that sees itself as enlightened and civilized, and for all who have been hurt and robbed of their belief and value in themselves. Communities like ours and society have a duty to protect them and help them restore their independence, their dignity, and self-respect. Continue our service with the Aleinu on page 520. Please stand. Aleinu leshaber ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהשם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. כי אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס סולתו ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, והשיבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. Creator of the universe, you give us life in which joys and sorrows are commingled in accordance with your wisdom, and you send death with its promise of eternal peace. Teach us to accept humbly and courageously whatever burden is laid upon us. And on this Shabbat, we extend our deepest sympathy to the family of Elias Sabag, who died this week in Argentina. We say to all those who mourn his death, Hamakom yenachem etchem, b'toch sha'ar ha'avelim. May God comfort you and all who mourn. And we remember too this evening with special affection and gratitude the lives of those who died at this time of the year in years gone by. Norman Sival, Elaine Cohen, Joseph Conway, Claire Fiddler, Morris Gould, Carl Gunhart, Lionel and Pauline Halbron, Richard Langton, Anita Lefebvre, Lawrence Libbert, William Margot, Renee Mornington, Cyril Herbert Nathan, Eileen Rosenthal, Eva Roth, Ruth Sebag Montefiore, Arthur Simon, and Wing Commander Stanley Stanley. I'll pause for a few moments if there are names you wish to add this evening. O God, comfort all those who mourn, and let the light of faith illumine the darkness of their sorrow with the hope of immortality. Strengthen us at all times with an unfailing trust in your providence, as we recite the words of the Kaddish. Gadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Agalav v'zman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam alamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitchomam v'yitnasei. V'yitada v'yitalei v'talal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata dam yiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama Rabbah min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol b'nei Adam v'imru amen. May the Most High, source of perfect peace, grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated. So, first of all, welcome again to all of you in the sanctuary, to all of you online participating. We'd love to invite you, if you feel comfortable, to join us for one of our services on Friday evening or Shabbat morning. And I always forget to announce Kiddush for those online, a Zoom Kiddush. The link will come up at the very end of the service. If you are on Zoom, remain where you are. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, just follow the link on Zoom. Please do join us for Kiddush and a chat after the service. I want to say thank you to Tammy and Martin, who are in the sanctuary with us today, for once again a beautiful service and moving and poignant music and uplifting music as well. So thank you to both of you. To Graham, thank you so much for being our creative camera operator this evening, and to our stewards as well. Thank you very much for being here this evening. There are a few announcements which I would just like to make. Tomorrow morning, the service will be led by our Kabbalat Torah class. This is our class of 15-year-olds. We did not have a Kabbalat Torah service last year. We could only offer it online, and this year it will be hybrid. And the class, I can tell you, have prepared a presentation on Bal Tashchit, which is the rabbinic principle, do not destroy, particularly relevant on environmental concerns. So please do join us for that. For those of you who are members of the synagogue, please join us for our AGM on Wednesday the 23rd of June at 7:30. Our guest speaker is Rabbi Charlie Baginski, who is the Chief Executive of Liberal Judaism, and that will be online. If you would like to, that we have several activities, in-person activities planned. If anybody would like to join members for a walk, then please do email us and let us know. The last afternoon tea and chat with Rabbi Rachel Benjamin before the break is Wednesday the 16th of June at 5 p.m. That is online. And we are planning a picnic, gathering as, I don't know if I can say as many of the congregation together, but maybe in different groups at 4 p.m. on Shabbat the 3rd of July, and we would love it if you could join us for that event, and more details will be available. And for those of you who are still hungry for more learning over the summer, Leo Beck College has its Lair House, and I'm recommending Rabbi Dr. Deborah Kahn Harris, her series of lectures, 3 lectures on Lamentations, and it's after images, and you'll see that it's leading up to Tisha B'Av, to the 9th of Av. But please do look at their website for other courses, both over the summer and particularly next year in the autumn term. Now we join with you, or silently join with you, with Yom Zeh Yisrael. If you're following in the prayer book, it's page 644. יברכך אדוני בכל טוב, וישמורך מכל רע, יאיר ליבך בשכל חיים, ויחונך בדעת עולמים, וישא פני חסדיו, לך לשלום עולמים. May God bless you with all that is good, and keep you from all harm. May God teach your heart the meaning of life and grant you knowledge of the infinite. May God reach out to you with tenderness, that you may have enduring peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Please be seated. Amen.